Let's start with strikes on Ukrainian infrastructure. Overnight, North Korean missiles took part in a massed strike on Kyiv, the Dnipropetrovsk and Poltava regions. Russia's defense ministry reported hitting the Firepoint facility, which develops Flamingo cruise missiles for the AFU. A separate strike hit Kremenchuk in Poltava region, and here's something worth noting. In the fifth year of the conflict, an oil refinery there had reportedly still been operating. It was formally knocked out back in 2023, but it appears the facility was partially restored and remained in service. Now it isn't. This was the last functioning oil refinery on Ukrainian territory, and another strike hit Kryvyi Rih. According to the Ukrainian side, North Korean missiles struck the country's largest metallurgical plant, ArcelorMittal. The company announced a halt to operations. How long that will last is unclear. Given the plant's size, fully disabling it would require dozens of missile strikes nailed to the front line. The Russian army continues advancing on several axes. 3 more settlements were taken today, 1 in the Zaporizhzhia region and 2 in the Donbas. It's on the Donbas front that AFU defenses are seeing a genuine collapse. Russian units managed to cut the highway between Kramatorsk and Dobropillia, and the defense of that city is visibly falling apart. But let's go through it in order, moving along the map from north to south. Kharkiv direction. In the area of Kazacha-Lopan and further east, Russian forces continue establishing a buffer zone along the border. Kharkiv itself holds serious interest for the Russian side. It's a major industrial and logistics hub, home to a significant number of enterprises tied to production for the AFU. Dating back to Soviet times, Kharkiv was one of the country's leading scientific and industrial centers, and despite post-Soviet losses, much of its production base and engineering expertise remain intact. So the goal here isn't limited to a buffer zone. Ideally, the Russian side wants to get as close to the city as possible and gain at least partial control over its logistics, denying the AFU the ability to leverage the city's industrial potential. It's Ukraine's second largest city, and this level of attention from Russian command is hardly surprising. Despite Kyiv devoting considerable attention to this sector, Russian units continue advancing and taking key border settlements, linking separate footholds into a single front, apparently with the aim of connecting this bridgehead with the Liptsy direction. What remains is to take Vysokoyaruska, after which the 2 footholds would effectively merge, along with the settlement of Elisivka. Map data suggests the Ukrainian side has prepared a serious defensive line, trenches, fortifications, anticipating a Russian push further south. How much manpower and resources the AFU will have left by the time that line is reached remains hard to predict. The Russian side will likely avoid rushing the process either. Otherwise, Ukrainian command would have time to move in prepared reserves, and the front would temporarily stall. East of Kharkiv region, though, there's no sign of things slowing down. Russian infantry continues steadily taking new settlements. The village of Kupiny was captured today, confirmed by objective control footage from the Ukrainian side. At the same time, the settlement of Chern is under heavy aerial bombardment, where Colombian mercenaries have dug in and are taking substantial losses. It was previously reported that around 16,000 Colombian fighters are present in Ukraine, effectively an entire formation. Casualties are already in the hundreds and likely approaching the 1,000 mark. Whatever recruiters in Colombia are promising in terms of pay, not everyone ends up getting what was promised. There are also reports of Russian units consolidating positions in Vestlivka, an important point on the western flank of the developing encirclement. Before moving to other sectors, it's worth noting a new tactic used by the Russian side, one that frankly is surprising it wasn't used sooner. A reconnaissance drone equipped with a microphone conceals itself near a road, using whatever cover is available so passing vehicles don't spot it. Once the operator detects an approaching vehicle by sound, an FPV, first-person view drone, launches and strikes within seconds. Footage circulating online today showed a pickup truck carrying AFU personnel caught off guard by a direct hit from a drone carrying roughly a 3 kilograms payload. The approach looks promising from a tactical standpoint. Ukrainian vehicles often drive fairly close to the front line, and a fiber optic guided drone can wait in a low power sleep mode in the rear for hours without expending much battery. Dushkivka direction. The operation to encircle Dushkivka continues, the third largest city remaining under AFU control in the Donbass. Recent footage shows a Russian reconnaissance drone flying freely over the city. The streets are largely empty, most residents evacuated long ago, and many buildings show visible damage. Ukrainian command clearly understands where this is heading and is actively preparing the city's defenses, unsurprising given its size. Russian units are approaching Dobropillia from two directions. From neighboring Oleksievo to Dobropillia, forces are gradually taking new districts. Today, court reports of a push to Fuchik Street and the start of fighting for a key strongpoint, the local food processing plant. Beyond it lies private housing, where the defense will have far less to hold onto, meaning the plant is effectively the main fortified position in the settlement's western section. On the other side, in the eastern part of Oleksievo-Dobropillia, an industrial zone remains. At the same time, Russian forces are pushing toward Dobropillia from Raiske. Today they managed to cross the Gazenitoritz River and advance significantly within the village itself, Dobropillia salient. Arguably the day's most significant development is a major breakthrough on this axis. This kind of rapid advance hasn't been seen in a long time. Russian units reportedly moved through tree lines and took the village of Andriivka, which, based on today's Defense Ministry's statement, would represent an advance of roughly 10 kilometers. Confirming footage is still pending, but given that the capture of nearby villages has previously been confirmed without issue, there's reason to believe this report holds up. If it does, it marks a major success for Russian forces. The significance is straightforward. The T0514 highway connecting Kramatorsk to Dobropillia, the fourth largest city remaining under AFU control in the Donbass, smaller only than Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, and the aforementioned Dobropillia, has effectively been severed. Normal supply to the city is now in serious doubt, leaving only the T0515 highway as the last thin lifeline connecting Dobropillia to the outside. Conditions inside Dobropillia itself are also deteriorating rapidly. North of the city, Russian units are straightening the front line, taking the neighboring village of Rubizhne today. In the city center, fighting is underway around the Dobropillia mine, where AFU forces have set up a strongpoint. This is now the focal battle that will determine the city's fate. Meanwhile, Russian troops are pushing into residential high-rises in the city center and entering from the south near the railway. Day by day, the Ukrainian defensive perimeter here keeps shrinking, and at the current pace, Dobropillia could fall under Russian control by late autumn. Zaporizhzhia direction. The offensive around Orikhiv continues to gain momentum, and yesterday brought a genuinely notable development in Zaporizhzhia itself. Local sources began publishing photographs indicating that, for what appears to be the first time in the conflict, the Russian side struck the Preobrazhensky bridge directly on its span, not near its base or over the Dnipro riverbed itself. Footage published by residents this morning shows visible damage to several spans. It's hard to assess the extent of the damage, but the strike on the span itself is significant. If dozens of similar strikes follow, the bridge would inevitably become unusable. This appears to be just the start. Over the coming weeks, expect increased pressure on Zaporizhzhia's logistics infrastructure aimed at cutting off not just the eastern from the western part of the city, but the entire Zaporizhzhia front from the rest of Ukrainian-held territory. While the push on Orikhiv itself continues, over the past weekend the front line here shifted considerably, with most updates coming from within the city limits of Orikhiv. New geolocated footage confirms the advance of assault groups, and analysts have made further adjustments to the map accordingly. Current estimates suggest the Russian side holds roughly 5% of the city, with about 20% in a contested gray zone, and the remainder still under AFU control. the settlement continues to face regular aerial bombing intended to weaken its defenses. The advance isn't limited to the south and southwest. A particularly notable push is developing from the north. Today, Russia's defense ministry, together with the Vostok grouping of forces, reported the conclusion of fighting for the settlement of Novosolution. Footage published by pro-Russian sources shows at least two flags raised, one in the settlement's southern section, the other in its eastern or central part. Based on this footage and the Defense Ministry's report, the Frontline map has been adjusted accordingly. Okay, so that's the situation as it stands today. It's also worth noting a report from the New York Times, which, citing its own sources, states that Ukrainian forces had been using Western satellite intelligence, both government and commercial, even before the conflict began in 2022. According to the report, access to such imagery was previously tightly restricted, largely reserved for senior commanders involved in strategic planning. Now, per the NYT, satellite intelligence has been pushed down to the unit level. Imagery is passed to the front lines quickly and used for target identification, route planning, and strike coordination. Among the targets cited are weapons depots, logistics hubs, and troop deployment sites, both in Russian-controlled areas and inside Russia itself. The report also mentions a tool from the company Bravo 1 Alpha that delivers satellite imagery directly to a portable device for use in drone operations. According to NYT's sources, in some cases, Ukrainian units are reportedly able to task satellites directly, analyze the resulting imagery, select targets, and later assess strike results themselves. Meanwhile, the outlet RBC Ukraine, citing sources close to Volodymyr Zelenskyy, reports on the considerable behind-the-scenes influence his wife, Elena Zelenska, holds over personnel decisions. According to the outlet's sources, she's able to both advance certain officials and block unwanted candidates or initiatives, described by sources as a golden veto. Her backing is cited as a factor behind the extended tenure of former education minister Oksana Lysovy in the cabinet, as well as the career rise of Mykola Kalashnik, who moved from head of Kiev's Stanitsia district administration to head of the Kiev Regional State Administration and then to Minister of Infrastructure. One source noted it's harder to say how much she can push a given initiative forward, but that blocking a person or an idea is well within her reach. One more item, this time from the Middle East. According to Reuters, a senior Iranian official said Tehran is prepared to forcibly break through the US naval blockade if Washington fails to meet the terms of an earlier ceasefire agreement within the coming weeks. He said Iran is shifting from a defensive to a more assertive posture as confidence in a diplomatic resolution continues to fade. Iran is demanding that Washington fulfill all terms of the agreement within a time frame set by Iran itself, calling this a precondition for further talks. Iranian forces, according to the agency, have reportedly been instructed to prepare for possible escalation both in the Strait of Hormuz and across the wider region. Officials in Tehran also say they no longer consider it realistic to rely on mediators to secure a lasting ceasefire. Thanks for watching to the end. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next update. Take care, everyone. See you next time.